greatest coach of all time and the greatest coach in the history of college football has left the building. Nick Saban, who will forever be remembered as Alabama's football coach, retired on Wednesday, shocking most of the sports world with his decision. But the truth, the legendary Saban belonged to LSU long before he belonged to the Crimson Tide. LSU football has always, since Saban left the Tigers after the 2004 season, had a love-hate relationship with the legendary Nick Saban. LSU fans loved Saban because in 2003, he won his first national championship with the Tigers, LSU's first since 1958, 45 years, or a lifetime before. But even though this was a significant and major milestone in LSU history, Saban's impact on the LSU football program has endured, whether LSU football fans like it or not. Nick Saban literally unleashed the giant that is LSU football today. That's the love part for LSU football fans. The hate part is equally as fervent. Saban left LSU after the Capital One bowl game loss to Iowa on January 1st of 2005 to become the head coach for the NFL's Miami Dolphins. In effect, realizing a lifelong dream of his of becoming an NFL head coach. LSU may not have liked it, but they could forgive Saban for that, especially since Saban had had annual dalliances with the NFL all 4 years while he was at LSU. Of course, what LSU football fans could not overcome was what happened next. After 2 short seasons in Miami, Nick Saban gave up the NFL ghost and returned to college football, where he, over the next 17 seasons, realized his position as the greatest college football coach of all time. The problem was, of course, it was with LSU's most hated rival, Alabama. And over the next 17 seasons, while Saban accumulated an unprecedented 6 national championships for the hated Gumps, he proved to be a constant thorn in LSU football's side, compiling a 13-5 record against the Tigers over that nightmarish span, including a 2012 BCS National Championship and a rematch in New Orleans of the game of the century that haunts LSU football to this day. Turns out, Saban, who will forever be remembered by everyone as Alabama's great football coach, belonged to LSU first. And it could be argued, LSU was always first in Saban's heart as well. In an article published in a 2019 edition of USA Today Sports, Saban said he wished he would have never left LSU and counted that as the biggest regret of his career. Nick Saban is one of the most winningest coaches in college football. Out of 368 games he's coached in college football, he has won 297 of them. His record at LSU was 48-16, having won 2 SEC championships during his 4 years at LSU and a national championship during the 2003 season with the Tigers. Saban has cemented his success in college football by finishing up at number 5 on the all-time win list, only 112 wins behind the all-time leader Joe Paterno. Saban has 297 total wins, a win percentage of 80.7%, and 19 bowl game wins. If there's one thing about Nick Saban, it's that his teams never finish with a losing record. Now, we're going to listen to Michael Clayton, a star wide receiver who played under Saban on the 2003 National Championship team, as he talks about the greatness of Nick Saban as a coach at LSU, along with the news and sports director of the Louisiana Radio Network, Jeff Palermo.
It's your time to move things forward. U.S. Army Reserve.
Talking with former LSU great wide receiver Michael Clayton. Michael, your reaction to hearing that your your coach at LSU, Nick Saban, has announced his retirement.
Well, I got a little bit of a tickle because we know it's been a long journey trying to take down Alabama since Coach Saban arrived, and I said to myself quietly, LSU is back, baby. But he's had a long, great journey, and I'm honestly thankful that I got a chance to be under his leadership. I think that with him retiring, that the landscape of college football is going to look a little different now. Because once you have a guy of his magnitude, he usually gets the best of the best players, and we've seen that that's been the direct reflection of him winning so many championships and being so good over these past 15 plus years. And so I'm sad to see him go, but I'm also thankful because I'm diehard LSU all the way, and I know that this gives us a winning edge moving forward.
What made him such a great coach, Michael? And you got to see him maybe even before his prime, if you would. He won obviously 6 titles at Alabama, but the first one will always be special for him. And he recruits you out of Christian Life High School. And just give us the sense of when you first met him and your thoughts on what made him such a great coach.
Yeah, 2 things that come to mind is honesty, loyalty, and paying attention to detail. My first day meeting Coach Saban, I met him at my home. I didn't know who he was as the head coach at LSU. And he showed up at my house a day after Bobby Bowden came on a Saturday, and Coach Saban called my dad and asked him if he can come over on Sunday. And, I never had a lot of Caucasian. I joke all about this all the time. Didn't have a lot of Caucasian people in my house. And Coach Saban shows up with a blue blazer, a yellow undershirt, gold chain with some penny loafers with no socks. And I said, this is the coolest white boy I ever seen in my life. And I just he went to church with me, spent the day with us. And I got to know him on that day. And he talked about some things about the history of LSU that they hadn't normally recruited the inner city kids in Baton Rouge, and that he wanted to make a change, and he wanted guys like myself and Marcus Spears to be a part of that change. And if we came, we could go to Miami and win a national championship. We could go to Florida State and win a national championship. But if we stayed at home, nobody would care if we went and won national championships for those Florida universities. But he said that it was possible for us to do the same thing at LSU. And growing up in Baton Rouge, LSU wasn't always the popular university in our community. And Coach Saban came in and kind of just changed my mind in that one night. And I got on the phone and I called a few of the athletes that were top recruits, Marquise Hill. And, I talked to Corey Webster, who was already at LSU. And just kind of, just put the pieces together and started to consider staying at home. And then everything aligned. Corey Webster did a great job, and Marcus Randall ended up going, and all of those Baton Rouge guys and Louisiana guys that, they created a name for themselves and kind of gave me something to look forward to. And I remember meeting Josh Reed in the mall one day. He asked me if I was coming, and that was just the highlight of my LSU experience, meeting Coach Saban in my home and then meeting Josh Reed after he had a big year for the LSU Tigers. So he was just a man of honesty. He told me that I would be the guy. And every day of my career at LSU, he set aside a time for me to do a walkthrough on defense, and he allowed me to play special teams and defense. And he kind of built me up my own schedule for me to be the best athlete that I can be. And I enjoyed every minute under his leadership, and did everything in my power to make sure that every man that came through there that wore a uniform listened to him and followed his direction, and we were all successful as a team.
What kind of competitor was he, Michael? Because we see him. He's a no-nonsense guy. He's all business. I know there were times, though, where he can crack jokes with his players, but this was a guy that he hated to lose.
Well, yeah, everybody will remember his butt cheek grabbing when he was yelling on the sideline when we're up 21, or blowing somebody out, and he's still fired up. So people remember that guy. He's highly competitive, always depending on who you were and how hard you worked, he was very like a chameleon. He would blend in at times, and he would change a little bit. Like, I had a personal relationship with him, so I spent a lot of time with him in his office, with relaxing in his chair, and going in his refrigerator in his office and in there with the coaches meeting. So I had a personal relationship, and we thrived with that. And I just loved him. I spent a lot of time at his house after practice, fishing in his pond. Me and Marcus did, and it was different for some guys, and I was fortunate enough to be one of those guys who had a very close-knit relationship with him. I remember one time we walk out on the football field, and because I was so close to him, he yells at me. He says, "Hey, Mikey," and he goes and he rips somebody apart. And I'm talking. He ripped a new butthole in somebody, and then he looks back at me and he winks. And I just laugh at that, and I still get chuckles to know that he was doing that on purpose to fire people up. And at the same time, he had his demeanor, he had his charisma, he had his likability, and he never lost that, even when he was a fiery competitor. So I always loved that about Coach Saban, because I got to see both sides of him.
Yeah, he was simply the best. What about as far as in-game strategy and stuff like that, Michael? Did you sit there and say, man, this guy knows what he's doing? I mean, he made his fair share of mistakes, but you don't win 7 national championships by accident.
Yeah, he was a one of one of his day, and it's going to be very hard to duplicate what Coach Saban did, which is why he's mentioned as the greatest college coach to ever coach in college football. So when you have a man that can take athletes, and Marcus Spears came in as a tight end, he changed him to a defensive end. Marcus was a first-round draft pick. Corey Webster came in as a wide receiver. He changed him to a DB. He was a second-round draft pick. Travis Daniels came in as a wide receiver. He became the starting defensive back. I came in as a wide receiver. He allowed me to play special teams and defense. He was just a master at knowing talent. And a lot of people benefited from his knowledge of the game. He knew that we were trying to get to the NFL, and he knew how our body types, our motors, our demeanor on the football field would not only get us to places where we wanted to accomplish our dreams and making it to the NFL, but it would maximize our potential on the college football field. And he was just a master at plugging and playing players. Our strategy, we never went into a game thinking that we were going to lose. Not one time in college football. Even when we got blew out by Florida my freshman year, we got beat by Tennessee in their house. I remember some games where, we got our butt kicked, but there was never a time where we went out on that football field questioning what the game plan was or our ability to win the game. And that was just something that rubbed off on us from him. He presented the game of football in a way that made you believe that you can win every game. And I think that that's what Alabama experienced over this 17 years. And that's definitely what I experienced in my 3 years under his leadership.
Michael, it was a pleasure talking with you, man. Thank you very much for chatting with me about Coach Saban. I appreciate it. I hope everything is well for you in Florida.
Hey, man, it is, man. I thank you for the opportunity to speak about my old coach.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it very much, man. Thanks.
The East Baton Rouge Library says this is the year to invest in you. The library brings value by connecting you to information, resources, materials, technology, and experiences. We make a positive difference in your life. All you need is your library card. Stop by one of our 14 locations, open 7 days a week, or find us online at ebrpl.com.